So yeah, there's some things you can see that I wrote down. Keychain magnets, Oregon State Bar Association. I called them because I need legal help with my abusive parents. Oh boy. But we're here for other things. I'd like to talk about a couple of unusual artifacts. I've been studying the Condyloid artifacts quite heavily in a very focused way for some time now. And I am just about ready to say some stuff about that. But first, I'd like to talk about the Hawaiian Fun Samos. That's whatever it's called. There's a Hera temple in Greece. And they've got this golden artifact. Whenever something's solid gold, you start to smell something, I think. It's called the horse front, the Hatza elf or Haza elf horse front. This guy Hazael was some minor satrap or governor or warlord or jerk off who has his name on these, you know, great variety of artifacts of ancient and not very highly patinaed bronze. This stuff made it all the way to Greece. This fantastic nobody who is mentioned in the canon. And you look at this thing. I hope I can. Well, look for the Hazael horse frontlet. There's a Wikipedia article. There's a hilarious picture. This should make you laugh. First thing you should notice is the breast. Nobody made breasts hemispherical like that. West of India until breasts weren't made like that. Around there, not in Syria, where they say it came from. The text doesn't look right. Look at the R. You can see that somebody attempted to make a modern square script R and then added to it, making a pennant shape like the old Hebrew and Canaanitish resh was. That's not how they constructed them. The thing exists in two examples, one of which is greatly, greatly more detailed. It's a better fit from the mold. And to be honest, my German isn't good enough that I made it through both of their arguments in both of their papers that they made a special release for because this was a special item that couldn't be released where you can look at it next to the other items that they found in this place. So they shit out these couple of little papers in this little German thing so that they could get it in the record. God knows why. It's so ugly. It probably didn't look as ugly back then. But look at the two examples. This lost element casting, lost wax casting, you lose your wax, right? So how do you make the second one? That's my first of many questions, but it doesn't matter. What matters is that Dr. Roellig, in his Handbuch der Hebräischen Epigraphic, does not refer to this item anymore. This amazingly ornate golden or bronze, I guess it's bronze, I don't know, it's ugly. Dr. Roellig quietly walked away from it, doesn't refer to it anymore. In his new book, came out a couple years ago, which is a 4-thick volume review of every Hebrew, Pseudo-Hebrew, Canaanitish, Paleo-Hebrew, Phoenician, etc. Semitic inscription ever. So Dr. Roellig has abandoned it. His partner in fun, Dr. So-and-so would be, I don't remember his name, the Greek guy. So he is in charge of this. The Greek guy is in charge of this Greek museum, and they got this thing on display, real prominent. And I want to walk in there and just ask Mr. So and so. I don't remember his name, but so the point is, this was introduced to the academic record by two interesting scholars One of whom says, "Oh, I don't know anything about that anymore. I don't know if anybody's asking about this. I don't know if anybody's interviewed about this. Probably not. It's a little bit obscure, but I would like to. I would love to interview Dr. Roellig about the Handbuch der Hebräischen Epigraphe. I think it's a fantastic work, and I admire the main author as well, whose name also escapes me. That's okay, but I would like to talk to Dr. I want to say it was Kouraisis, but that might have been a different guy. I want to talk to Dr. Kouraisis at the Syrian Museum as well on this place, because probably a lovely city to visit, wherever that is. And, oh yeah, they're having problems in Syria. Let's move on. Kuntilat Auschwitz. I've been studying Kuntilat Auschwitz since about Thanksgiving, less than a year, but very intensely. I, as you may have noticed from my everything, am autistic and quite unique and quite intelligent and quite focused about certain things. My special interests, as they call them in the ASD community, are not narrow like most of them are, but many. And I have a great affinity for languages, an ear for words, etc., and a great memory for phrases and the musicality of them and the different ways that they interact with each other. And I've been so puzzled by the very oddness of the famous Kuntilat Auschwitz art, which is so in-your-face ugly, which is so unusual for art that's not fake. It's so weird that it's so almost aggressively rude, this art. So for that, and because it's got, the God of Israel with Asherah, his sometimes wife, well, they've been intriguing people for a long time. They've been intriguing me for a while now, and I would like to ask again for an interview. I would like to ask for an interview with Dr. Meshel, who is the main person in charge of these Kuntilat inscriptions since forever. Been in charge of the Israel Museum for, I think, forever as well. But the funny thing is, almost immediately after they picked these things up, these famous jars with the bull-headed people, God his deities, and what was I saying? Oh yeah, so they debuted it in a very charming, very old paper from somebody who, I don't know. Oh, but they debuted it at the president's house. The president of Israel was where they went and said, here's our first initial presentation of the findings. And then they were not discussed, they were discussed non-stop, but the first edition, the Editio Princeps, as they call it, was not released for like 30 years. It wasn't until 2012, and it was shit. Finally comes out after scholars complaining about how annoying it is that they have these low-resolution pictures and they need these more information about these incredibly vital inscriptions, right? I can't overstate their importance to any, conception of history, Western civilization, etc. But nobody understands them is the problem. Everybody has a dictionary view where they go and they look something up. They won't make an argument for something unless it says, this is the language what we are in, and they make artificial distinctions between extremely similar Semitic languages. And then they say, based on this, the official Phoenician dictionary, or whichever dictionary that I like, has an entry for this, meaning this. Therefore, I can argue that this poem means such and such, and it's transparently nonsensical. And I don't know if they think nobody can notice that these hymns don't make any sense, but they don't. I've got some better things to say. I wish I had more time here, but what I'd like to say here is, Dr. Meshel, you were talking to, I think, Dr. Francesca Stravapalu a few years ago, and she asked you, where are the jars? And you said, I haven't seen them in years. And there was like kind of sad music, and the camera was looking at you from far away, implying that Dr. Meshel was doing something shady. And then, well, there was a couple of years before that, though, there was this white paper from a diplomatic organization pursuant to some issues that had gone on between Sinaitic commissions in Israel and Egypt, negotiating, giving artifacts back and stuff. Obviously, they're going to fight over Sinai Peninsula stuff, like the Cantil Rajwood inscriptions that are found in Sinai, the birth of the Proto-Semitic alphabet and stuff. Whew, excuse me, I gotta slow down a second. So the problem was, according to also the guy who started the Biblical Review Society, who was kind of a decent scholar, but he's also kind of too biased toward religion. He posted about his blog on the Jerusalem Post a couple years ago, and of course nobody read it because it was, some English language article in the Jerusalem Post by some Herschel Shanks who wasn't even writing on his own website where he actually has an audience. But anyway, that means there's two sources, Herschel Shanks and this PDF from a diplomatic organization, this Hebrew PDF, saying that you don't have the jars. There we are. Israel does not have the famous Pitos A and Pitos B from Cantil Rajwood. They've been saying they do. They've been displaying these reproductions, but they gave them away. My question is, did you hand them to the president's Secret Service or whatever, and then they put it in a diplomatic pouch and they ran over here to Egypt? I want to hear about the spy story for getting these things out of there. And how did you get wrapped up in this thing that you, Dr. Meshel, have to keep on lying about it for decades? I knew that they were somewhere. I said Dr. Meshel wouldn't have that job for all these decades if he lost the most important artifacts ever dug up, probably ever. I'm not kidding. They're that important. Okay. So I would like to interview Dr. Meshel, ask him about the whereabouts and the whenabouts of the jars, and so many other things. Why did you trust Dr. Aidu with these weird translation and even a bad transcription? You don't take responsibility for any of your chapters in this big book. You let all these other authors. I'm not even gonna pick it up. Okay. Dr. Meshel, I love your work, actually. I trust your dating. I trust your methods mostly, but your conclusions they have no connections to each. I could talk for a while. I'm not going to. Dr. Meshel, be in contact with me. I want to do an interview with you and the others. Thanks so much. I'm gonna take a little pause. Thank you so much for watching my video for, God, almost 13 minutes. I hope I have I'm gonna post this. I'm actually gonna post this. Who knows? I've got a lot more to say. I couldn't tell you how much more I have to say. I hope we get to talk more. I love you. Let's talk knowledge. Let's talk epigraphy. Let's talk inscriptions.